Bula vinaka, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Swiswicky. Coming up, a former Fijian journalist faces charges from the country's anti-corruption agency. Also, a football program offers a second chance at life for inmates. And Heartache for both Moana, Pasifika and Fiji and Drua in their second Super Rugby Pacific outings. A former Fijian journalist and sports administrator was finally charged by Fiji's anti-corruption agency on Monday, 48 hours after he was arrested and held in custody. Charlie Charters appeared in the Suva Magistrates Court today on 2 charges and was released on bail under strict conditions. Our reporter Margot Staunton has been covering the story and joins me now. Bula, Margot, who is Charlie Charters?
Pulavana Charlie Charters is a former senior manager of the Fiji Rugby Union, and he's also a former journalist, and he's very well known in Fiji and seems to be very popular.
Okay, what happened to him when he flew into Fiji on Saturday?
Well, Charlie was arrested by FICAC officials when he flew into the airport, and he was detained in a cell at the FICAC headquarters in Suva over the weekend. At that point, he hadn't been formally charged, but it was alleged that he was involved in aiding and abetting an unknown staff member of the anti-corruption agency in Fiji.
What charges is he actually facing?
Well, he was questioned again today, and he is facing 2 charges of aiding and abetting an unknown staff member of FICAC and divulging confidential information from FICAC.
What are the reasons behind those charges, Margot?
Well, Charlie Charters has been quite critical and written extensively on Facebook about the inner workings of the anti-corruption agency and the Fiji Sports Council, and he has cited publicly available documents plus some of his own confidential sources.
What happened when he appeared in the Suva court today?
Well, he finally appeared some 48 hours after he was arrested and detained. He was charged with the 2 offences that I mentioned and actually bailed on strict conditions. He had to pay a 2,000 Fijian dollar bond, and a stop departure order has been issued, which means he's not allowed to leave the country.
Did Mr. Charters say anything after the court appearance?
Mr. Charters addressed the media that were waiting and thanked them for their support since he had been arrested and detained and appeared in court. He also thanked the many well-wishers who had contacted him on social media and said that quite a few of them had commented on how much weight he'd put on, and he admitted that was true, and he said, but spending 2 nights at FICAC House was a really good way to begin a diet, and that he was looking forward to a more attractive, trimmer version of himself in the future.
Minaka Margot for their update. A Solomon Islands climate negotiator says constantly adapting to climate change is a matter of survival for Pacific Island communities, and regional coordination is key. The climate crisis is causing rising temperatures, rising sea levels, and increasingly severe weather events which threaten the lives and livelihoods of people across the region. Christine Toyoti has this report.
Climate negotiator Melissa Horoko is part of a team working on adaptation at COP, the supreme decision-making body of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Adaptation is one of 14 thematic priorities for the Pacific on the COP agenda. Ms. Horoko, who attended last year's COP in Brazil, says being a negotiator is a lot of responsibility, but she shoulders it because it is important for her community.
You think about people, you think about ecosystem. The trees will not speak for themselves. The ocean will not talk for themselves. Even the people, we have our own way of sharing the concerns that we have and experiences that we go through on a daily basis.
She says she never thought she would have a career as a climate negotiator and encourages more young people to enter the field.
I want to do the whole practical side of it do the environment conservation, plant trees, do stuff like that. I wasn't even aware of negotiations until I started working with the climate change.
Fiji youth climate negotiator Tale Thabu says watching Pacific negotiators helped her see why Pacific voices matter on the global stage.
And seeing how you can impact change, right? You can impact wherever you are, whether it's you at the table negotiating or in the background supporting in some capacity. I see that, you contributing not only just for the sake of your work, but you're contributing because you are the voices of your people at these scales.
She says learning from experienced colleagues in this space across the Pacific convinced her this was what she wanted to do.
I want to be part of the people that not only see to make changes, but see this happening back home, like implementing these changes back home for the benefits of our people. So yeah, for me, it was just basically learning more from colleagues, but also seeing areas where you can contribute personally.
SPREP Communications and Outreach Advisor Nanette Woonton has attended more than 20 UN COP meetings. She says Pacific youth at climate change conferences are often vocal and very upfront.
They've carried the torch for our Pacific Islands people. They've brought a young voice to the space where people argue and discuss and negotiate over text. They bring the human face and they're not afraid to do so.
She says even though most of them are not at the negotiating tables, they still strive to ensure their voices are heard by negotiators. COP31 this year will be held in Antalya, Turkey from the 9th to the 20th of November.
A new football coaching program at Kohuora Auckland South Corrections Facility is offering inmates a second chance in life. Auckland FC coaches visited the prison 3 times a week over the 6-week course delivered in partnership with the Twinning Project. Of the 16 men in the first intake, 10 are Māori and Pacific Islanders. Tiana Haxton attended their graduation ceremony.
The course creators are hailing the project a success, with all 16 participants graduating with a recognised football coaching certificate. The qualification is designed to support inmates' reintegration into society once they are released from prison. One inmate, whose voice has been modified for security reasons, says the program has changed their life.
I feel like I got a second chance, to be honest. Basically, football teaches you not to give up in life, and a lot of inmates feel defeated when they come in here. Projects like this inspire inmates to actually never give up.
He hopes to use the qualification to show young immigrants the opportunities available in the football world. He says he himself struggled to fit in when he migrated to New Zealand, falling into the wrong company and ending up in prison. He wants to make sure his story isn't repeated.
My aim is, God willing, in the future, and I want to start my own foundation where I can use what I've learned here and my experience to prevent other kids from coming into this place. I'm really shocked about the choices I've made, but I'm grateful for this project and the whole environment that has taught me, opened up my eyes more.
The Twinning Project was first launched in the UK in 2018, involving over 70 professional football clubs around the country, and is now in the United States, South Africa, Brazil, and Uruguay. This is the first time such a course has been offered in New Zealand. Twinning Project CEO Hilton Freund says the course opens doors for near end-of-term prisoners, offering a way to upskill to improve employment opportunities upon their release.
Sport can act as an agent for change, especially amongst a disengaged cohort of individuals. And what we see is that when we bring sport into custodial environments, it really does turn the lights on. And we get people who potentially were resistant to any kind of education putting their hands up to get involved.
Mr. Freund flew from the UK to attend the graduation ceremony on prison grounds. New Zealand's Minister of Sport and Corrections, Mark Mitchell, was moved, seeing the change in the graduates.
Pretty emotional for me when we're in there and we're part of these ceremony events, and you could see interacting with the men that had been on the program just the impact that it has had on them. It's unlocking their leadership potential, forming that camaraderie, it's giving them a new set of skills, and I was really clear when I became Corrections Minister that I wanted programs that actually gave people real life skills that set them up for success.
He believes sport can have a positive impact on people's lives, and he is glad to witness this in action amongst the graduating inmates.
Me personally, I'm just really proud of them. And I wanted them to get a sense that, yes, they've made some poor decisions in their life, but I want them to have a sense that we're behind them as a country. And there's a lot of people there. Everyone that you saw there today is invested in making sure that they're given the best possible chance of making good decisions instead of coming out and making and being trapped in that cycle of bad decisions.
Former professional footballer Harry Ngata was one of the program leads. He says the course reached beyond football, including cultural elements in the delivery.
Particularly with Māori tikanga around whakataongatanga, around whakapapa and whānau, those pillars are integral as part of this program. From week 1 to week 6, you can clearly see a connection and an identity, a belonging with the kaupapa.
The 16 graduates, aged between 23 and 45, are of varying ethnicities, with Māori, Pasifika, Indian, Asian and African representation. Ngata says they all learned to unite under common values through the course.
It's an amazing kaupapa. It really is what sport does bring to our people in terms of teamwork and leadership, self-respect, self-belief, and aspiring to something bigger than yourselves, coming together for a common purpose. That's been the kaupapa, and it's been really rewarding.
The management of the corrections facility welcomed the twinning project with open arms. Serco's Director of Strategy and Corporate Affairs, James Boland-Rudder, says the long-term goal is to create safer communities.
And it's such an exciting program because it enables us to use sport as a mechanism and a tool to help rehabilitate the men in our care, equip them with the skills that they need to reintegrate into the community when they're released from our care, and ultimately deliver safer communities because it will contribute to lower recidivism rates.
With the first cohort now graduated, planning is already underway for the next intake. The upcoming program is expected to begin in April and will focus on younger prisoners aged 18 to 24. 2 graduates from the inaugural group are set to return as mentors and guide the second cohort to their own graduation in late May.
There are some highs and lows as Pasifika sports teams competed over the weekend. Heartaches for both Moana, Pasifika and the Fijian Drua on Friday night when round 2 of the Super Rugby Pacific competition got underway. But celebrations for Vanuatu United and the Solomon Kings in round 3 of the OFC Pro League in Melbourne. Our senior sports journalist Eliasa Tora joins me for our Dalanoa wrap of the weekend sports actions. Hey Bula Eli, tough weekend for Moana Pasifika and the Fijian Drua. Where did it go wrong for them and what are the results of the other matches?
Yeah, Bula Vinaka, definitely a disappointing weekend for both the Fijian Drua and Moana Pasifika, losing both their games on Friday evening. Moana Pasifika scored early against the Hurricanes at the Sky Stadium, but that would remain to be the only highlight of their performance in the first half. They fell apart and the Hurricanes blew them away, winning 52-10 at the end in a scintillating performance from the host. The Fijian Drua took on the Waratahs later the same night in Sydney, and the Waratahs dismantled the Drua for the second week in a row, handing the Drua their second loss in the series so far. Waratahs winning 36-13. But, that was not the only disappointment in round 2 of the Super Rugby Pacific competition. The defending champions, the Crusaders, were well beaten 50-24 by the Brumbies in their game in Christchurch on Sunday. One of the biggest upset, I would say, so far in the competition. The Crusaders were not able to handle the Brumbies and they fell away midway through the game and lost in the end. And the Blues managing to beat the Western Force 42-32 in Perth on Sunday night.
What were the reactions from the Moana Pasifika and Fiji and Drua camps after their matches?
Well, Falongo Tanaumanga said after the game that it was something that they expected, that the Hurricanes were going to be tough and hard to handle at home. He basically was happy with how the debutants who played that night performed for Moana Pasifika. I think in the long run, he wanted to see that they tasted Super Rugby experience and would be better prepared for matches later on in the series. Glenn Jackson, on the other hand, for the Fijian Drua, lamented the loss of opportunities. They were not able to start well and said that they still have a lot of learning going into the third round of the competition. But with the results, Moana Pasifika at least has a win from their first round match. But the Drua now, with 2 losses, they will certainly be looking at improving right throughout when they meet the Hurricanes in Fiji this weekend.
Just moving over to football, there is some good news for 2 of our Pacific teams. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, the Solomon Kings, the team that defeated Auckland FC in Port Moresby in round 2, continued with their winning performance, and they defeated PNG Hekari FC on Sunday at the Olympic Park in Melbourne when round 3 kicked off at the weekend. And Vanuatu United were able to beat Bula FC of Fiji, recording their first win in the competition. Now, with the win, Solomon Kings now are on 3rd spot and chasing Auckland FC, who are in first place, and South Melbourne. In the other results, on the weekend, South Melbourne held Auckland FC to a 1-1 draw, and Tahiti United were held to a 2-2 draw by South Island United. Tahiti United had taken the lead twice in that game, and South Island United came back twice to draw level. That's how they finished in the end, 2-2. And the point standing has Auckland FC at the top with 16 points, South Melbourne. Then you have Solomon Kings, South Island United, Vanuatu United and Tahiti United. PNG Hekari FC still yet to claim a win in the competition so far.
And what's next for the teams, Ilu?
The competition continues on Tuesday in Melbourne. That's when the teams will be all gunning for wins again, especially PNG Hekari United, who really need to claim a win to get away from the bottom of the table. Interestingly, they are facing Bula FC on Wednesday. That would be seen as the battle of the bottom place teams. And South Island United has the opportunity to gain another spot higher when they meet the leaders Auckland FC on Tuesday. Tahiti United and Melbourne FC lined up for another interesting clash, and Vanuatu FC against Solomon Kings. So the games continue on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then wraps up at the weekend for round 3 of OFC Pro League in Melbourne.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā, soifua.